Most people think that in order to make $300,000 in just 15 weeks, you need to have a huge audience or pay for a bunch of ads, have a huge team, or a complicated high ticket funnel. But I just did this and I did it with me, a couple of people working with me part time remotely. I paid for zero ads. And the process, it's the funnel, was so simple, it might even shock you. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly step by step the instructions that I did so that you can just replicate this and maybe make 10,000, 20,000, or even more in a short amount of time. We're going to say 90 to 120 days. Okay, so I split this up with my notes into just a few sections. First of all, what was the offer? Well, it's called the 360 pass, 360 degrees, meaning all encompassing pass. And it is part of my free membership called Your First 5K. So in the offer, you get all the tools you need and all the training you need to get clarity, to make your first 5K, etc. And what I did was the first thing you have to do, and what I did was I went for the offer and I said, okay, the offer itself needs to be an absolute no-brainer. It needs to be something that doesn't take a long time to figure out if you want it. It's almost like you have FOMO for it, like fear of missing out. And then you just immediately click, yes, I want to be part of this. So what I did was I had my Your First 5K membership on Skool, the platform, Skool spelled with a K. And on Skool, you can have a free membership, but it can be a freemium model, meaning that everybody joins for free, but they can upgrade if they'd like to. And you can have different price points, up to two more price points from the free. So a total of three types of tiers or memberships. So I thought about that and I said, well, I have Your First 5K and I had that for about 8 months before, maybe 9 months before I started this part of it. And I had that and that's awesome. And we had this big moment in December where I went from a $50 a year membership to making it free, and we got thousands of new people who joined. So the thing you can take away from this right out the gate is to have something that's free that is so amazing on its own that nobody would need to pay a penny to find success. And that's what I was able to do with Your First 5K. If you go to Your First 5K, I'll go ahead and link it in the description pinned comment. But if you go to Arlan's yourfirst5k.com, if you're watching this on TV, you'll see that, first of all, there are thousands of people in there. Second of all, the classroom gives you a ton of tools that are free. So you already can win even if you don't pay. So then you build trust. It doesn't have to be a lot of things. Let me be clear about that. It doesn't have to be a ton of stuff. It just needs to be very helpful stuff. So even if it's just one module in the classroom, but it helps somebody have a transformation, they're going to remember that. They're going to trust that. So it helps build that trust in you. And then they say, well, if the free stuff is this good, the paid stuff has to be even better. And then you make it so. So that's what I did to lay the foundation is I had any type of major free thing. It was like it is my signature free offer is in this case, a Skool membership that people can come in for free. So Skool actually lets you have a $9 a month that you pay them $9 a month type of membership. So this is a perfect price point to have a free membership. You pay $9 a month, people can come in for free, and you can just stack, and build that out, knowing that you will have a freemium account, which means you will make an offer either at the beginning or over time. I suggest you wait a little bit before making the offer so you can get to know what your members really want. So that was the next step in figuring out the biggest, best offer I could give. I simply put a post up because I say closed mouths don't feed. I say to ask for the sale, ask for help, ask for all the things. So in this case, I put up a survey and I said, I need your help. I just want to know if I were to have a VIP section of this school, of this membership, what would you want to be in it that would be like a no-brainer for you? So I just asked, I surveyed. So I got all of these answers because people want to be heard and they also want to help. So if you say like, help me out, I just need to know like a certain answer, they'll help you. So I got all these really, really cool answers. And what I did was I copied them and then I pasted them. At the time, it was into ChatGPT. If it were today, I would use my own platform, which is authorityxpro.com. I just put everything in there. But I put it into AI and I said, now give me a list in the order, like the most popular to least of what people are asking for. Because if you get a ton of answers, you can read them. I read them, of course, but you can kind of get them organized. So I started to organize it for me. So then I just said, okay, what of these things can I actually deliver that would be cost effective so it wouldn't cost me more than I was paid? It was time effective, so I didn't feel like I was overburdened by spending too much time with it. And that makes sense, like just makes sense for what we're doing. And from my perspective as the teacher or the guide would get us to a transformation. And I just cherry picked the ones that fit all that criteria. And that was the beginning of the 360 pass. So I'll give you an example. People wanted to stop having to make so many decisions about which of my products to get. Because I have a lot of different products because I've been doing this for a long time, a long time. And so I said, well, what if I just had a pass where almost everything you need was just in that pass. If it wasn't in the free stuff, it was just in that pass. And I couldn't do it for every single thing that I have because it wouldn't make sense. Like I couldn't put my inner circle program, my high ticket program in there, and I couldn't put certain things. But what I could do is have categories of things. So what I did was I said, I'm making these OSs, YouTube OS, Lovable OS, Stan OS, these operating systems, these dashboards. I'm making them and selling them individually. What if I put them all in this pass? So instead of having to go through and just go through my Stan store, which you still can, and look through and say, oh, I want that one, or I want that one, or do I think I want that one? You just get access to all of the OSs that I have, and therefore you don't have to choose which one to purchase. You get to choose which ones to experiment with. And that changed the psychology. And then I said, well, in keeping with the decision fatigue, like trying to keep that away from people, what if I went crazy and I said, any OS that I make in 2026 also gets added? And then that's where everything just started to really, really crystallize. Because you can say, okay, this is a bundle, right? I'm going to bundle a bunch of awesome stuff together, and that in itself will get you started. And like I think most 90% of people can go with that and charge a small amount, and there would be enough. But if you want to go to the next level, listen to this. If you want to go to the next level, you go ahead and say, what all of that I have here in this bundle, and then XYZ will be added over the next 9 months or 12 months. Now, when you're doing this, remember, we're not trying to overload ourselves. We're not trying to have too much that we have to do ourselves because we're trying to use leverage. Leverage is the digital products, the AI. So if I'm going to build an OS one time and it takes me a weekend to really flesh it out and a little bit of maintenance along the way, that can go out to thousands of people. But for instance, I wouldn't put in the offer, you get a one-on-one with me. Because even though that would like send it over the edge and everybody would sign up, I would be overwhelmed and I would hate that. I'd be like, oh my gosh, now I have to just spend all my days on calls. And it's too much. It's too taxing. So this was really the simplest and the most straightforward and the most valuable idea that you can kind of scale. You want it to be able to scale. You want to look at it like if 1,000 people were to buy this overnight, would I be happy or would I be really, really scared and upset? That's how you measure it. So for me, that was amazing. Then I said, okay, well, there's some other stuff I can put in there, so I'll do that. But then I thought, man, everybody wants stuff. They want the things. But I also know that this group, and I've been there too, can get overwhelmed. If you have too much stuff, it can be a bad, there's a such thing as too much of a good thing. So I said, well, what if I had some sort of guidance so that I could help them further make some of those decisions instead of just saying, here's a bunch of stuff, you get it all, great. If I were to give you just a bunch of cars, that would be awesome. You'd have them in your garage and it would be amazing. Or if I were to give you a bunch of guitars and they were beautiful, that's awesome. They just have them there. But if you don't know how to play them or if you don't know how to drive the cars, over time it just feels like you have a bunch of junk. You have a bunch of stuff to look at. So I said, well, let me bring in the guitar teacher. Let me bring in the car aficionado, meaning me. And what can I do that has a low lift but high leverage? Well, I can dedicate 1 to 2 hours per week, every week, or most weeks of the year, and I can have group calls that help people, that answer people's questions, and that help people with anything that's going on with 360. So I said, that's something I feel like I could do. And with the idea of I'm not going to make all 52 weeks happen because I need to have some wiggle room for travel, for rest, for being sick, all the things, just for some, if I want to, right? For preference. So I said, okay, I can control that. So every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific, I do group coaching with the 360 pass holders via Zoom. And that is like, it's so, so highly valuable, but it doesn't take so much of my time. And so far, as of this recording, I've done 16 of these this year with the pass, have not missed a week. And I figure I'm going to miss 2 or 3 weeks, something like that throughout the year. And it is a lot of fun. It's very rewarding. And on top of that, I get to know, have finger on the pulse of what my members need and want every single week. And it's very interesting. And not just my members, but my most highly engaged members when it comes to spending with me. You don't have to be a paying customer to be engaged with me, but this is a certain segment that I get eyes on every single week and understand their questions. And a lot of times I'll take notes, even though I'm giving out, gems and whatever, I'll take some notes real quickly and I'll think, oh, okay, maybe I should explain something a different way or do something if I heard a certain question framed a certain way. Then I said, well, that's going to be enough, right? But then I said, okay, what's something that'll take it over the edge? And at the time, I was planning and plotting my Your First Million Live virtual event. And I thought, wow, it would be really interesting if 360 members could get the full streaming of that, the full replay in the vault forever, lifetime, because I know how these go and I know there's going to be so many gems that you want to go back and just kind of reference. And they get a bonus day. Because I was already going to be doing an in-person bonus day with my high-ticket clients where they pay me thousands of dollars a year and we were going to be doing some masterminding. So I said, well, we're going to be at the studio doing that. What if we were to film it or stream it even, and 360 members get access to that? So that was very early on. That was something that I added to it. So you can see how this is just stacking and stacking and stacking. And it's just a no-brainer for most people. So then I thought about the pricing. Now, it should have been something like $999, but I used that because it should have been to anchor it, to price anchor, meaning it should be this or more. So if I charged less, you can visually and audibly see the value pretty quickly. And so what I did was I priced it at $360 for the 360 pass. Simple, elegant, it makes sense, easy to remember. And it's at a price point that is not insignificant, but it's not so high that you have to decide if you're going to pay rent or not in most cases. Now, I'm not saying for all, but in most cases. And when you have that, when you're charging something that's 1,000, 2,000 or more, you're competing with somebody's mortgage or rent. And so when you can have something that doesn't have to be bargain basement, but if it's something like 360, 299, 399, it's something that people 499, it's something that people can say, you know what? That's worth the risk. I'll make that back. If I can make that back in the first couple of months, that should be good. And that's where you want to have them. A little bit more about the pricing that I think will be helpful is very specifically, I didn't want to hold anything back in this video because I think it's going to help. So we have 1,000 people who have joined in 15 weeks. About 40% of them have paid the $360 amount. Approximately 40% paid a different amount, which was a sale price, and I'll talk about that in a moment, but that was $211. And then another 20% or so paid $250 for a certain amount of time. So I had 2 times where there was a sale price, even discounted to that crazy discount. But the people who paid the 360 originally got something even better. So I'll tell you about that in a moment. Okay, so you have the offer, you have the pricing. So you can just write down those prices. 360 is the normal price. And I keep saying it'll go up because I think eventually this will be $999 because it is worth so much. So do I put it at $999 when there are 2,000 people who have joined? I don't know, but I know that that's the price anchor. So then what did a funnel look like? Now the funnel just means if you just imagine a funnel like you used to just put gas into your tank or to pour water or food ingredients, it's big at the top, gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and then it comes through here. So you take something where a lot of people are, and that's where like a lot of people just see the offer, and you take it down to the few people who actually purchase it. That's when they say funnel, that's what they mean. So I had a couple of ways that people can get the 360 pass. What you can do is in your first 5K, if you go right now and you go into the classroom and you are looking through the classroom modules, you'll see that there are some modules that are locked. And it'll say access with 360 pass or access with VIP, because it's also called a VIP based on Skool's jargon. And when you click on it, it lets you see the description of the module, and then it lets you upgrade. So someone's a free member, or even the next tier, which is a premium member that costs $50 a year for other things. And they're like, you know what? I've seen this 4 or 5 times. I want to get into that. Or maybe they saw something on the calendar where they're like, oh, there's these Tuesday calls with Arlan. I want to get on that next one. Let me go ahead and just upgrade. And they can just upgrade seamlessly through the Skool platform. And that's because that's how Skool has built their tiers. And that is a major way that people sign up. Another way that I have where people can come in is they go from something like a YouTube video into my stand store. Or they go from the free Your First 5K posts that I post, and it links to the stand store. It may say you can upgrade by clicking on the lock in the classroom, or, and this is where it gets very interesting for you, you want to have this, or you can get access to payment plans through this link. Because right now, Skool doesn't have payment plans when it comes to like a large amount and you split it up third party. They probably will one day, but just right now they don't. So what I do is I send the people who want to have access to Klarna or Afterpay over to Stan, which is one little link on my Stan store, and then they get, they get to see a little bit of description, just like they would if they were to click into the classroom, and then they can check out. And that's just a one like, okay, YouTube video about a certain topic. This link is in the description. And then they go over. And what most people do is they go from the YouTube video into the free Your First 5K. And then once they're in there for anywhere from a day to 6 months, or 4 months in this case, they'll click through and upgrade. And maybe they'll upgrade inside of Your First 5K, or maybe they'll use one of those links in a post and come over here to Stan. And then they get like some sort of pay in 4 payments, installments, or XYZ, whatever Klarna or Afterpay offers them. Now, it's not in every single region and country. So sometimes people, like for instance, in Australia, they don't see it. And some people in some parts of the US don't see it. And not everybody qualifies. But when you have a third party, Klarna, Afterpay, PayPal, Pay Later, etc., that's just already built in, they take on the risk. You get paid up front minus a small fee, in my opinion, small fee. And then everybody moves on. Because if they default, they have to deal with that third party. And they don't want to do that. So there's like a high chance of them actually being able to pay. If you do the payment plan, it gets more complicated and it gets more personal. And I just don't do it anymore. I used to do it. Not for this offer, but for something else. And it just got so convoluted and bad. So I don't do it anymore. I just use if I can have an option that's on PayPal, Pay Later, or Stan, so you can get that Afterpay Klarna, or on Stripe, which has the same, I will do that. So people will go there. Now, when it comes to the funnel options, YouTube is the number one source for all things for me. Whether that's the A version where they click through to Your First 5K because of something I said in the video, or they just saw it in the description or pinned post, like you can see right now, whether they went into Your First 5K, were nurtured there, and then at some point saw something that's, oh, let me go ahead and just upgrade because I want that, whatever that is. Or if it's the B version where it's just directly to 360 by the pass, which happens a lot. Or there's a C version, which is, this one is one of my favorites and something that surprised me, which is I'm doing a 5-day challenge. The 5-day challenge costs $99. It's a live challenge. It's great transformation. I give you everything I got for that topic. At the checkout on Stan, you can purchase that, or you can do what is called an order bump, which is you click a little check mark and you say, oh, actually, this is included in 360. Let me just go ahead and get 360. And the price point, when you click it, makes it a total of 360. Doesn't add 360, it makes it a total of 360. So what I was pleasantly surprised when I had my YouTube revenue challenge, 5 days, and a few weeks ago. And I knew I was going to do this, and I knew my thing was I hope 50 people sign up to the challenge, and I hope at least, like, let's say 10 of those people become 360 members. That was kind of the goal. And then it was already included for 360 members, so I was just excited that 400 or so people at the time would get the access to it live or the replay. You see what I'm saying? Like, I enjoy doing it, so I was just happy that I had one more thing I could add to it, and like, surprise, you get this other thing. Now you get access to this challenge too, right? So what ended up happening is I posted about it inside of Your First 5K, and there was like, oh, cool. And like 360 members were like, cool, awesome. I had a couple of people who were like, yeah, let me go ahead and buy that individually. So, but it wasn't moving the way I thought it might. And I was like, what can I do? So I remember that last year I had done an exploding video, meaning on YouTube, I had a video, and you've probably seen this, or maybe you haven't if you've seen me for the first time, where it says, uh, I'm going to delete this video in 3 hours or 6 hours or 24 hours. And the video is short and it's me saying, look, there's like this deal happening. You need to get it. Linked below. I'm out of here. And then I take it down after a few hours. So I remember that did well for a course that I had, a sale that I had in a course. So I said, okay, I'll do that. I'll do one of those. So I did one of those, and it just kind of jump started things for me. And what ended up happening is that a total of like I had a week of promotion and then a week of the actual challenge. Like halfway during the week of promotion is when I did this exploding video. 200 people signed up ultimately. 200 people signed up. And this is even that was amazing. So that's already, if you think about $20,000. But what is even more amazing than that is that 30% of people who went from YouTube, even if it wasn't the exploding video, because I went on to do other videos about it, YouTube to Stan for the $99, 30% clicked on, let me go ahead and get the 360 pass too, which was like just sent everything to another level. Then on top of that, during the challenge, the total became 50%. All in all, I made $50,000 top line for that challenge. Like from that challenge. Because of the way that I had my simple funnel. This is not complicated. A lot of times people have like all this, and you do order bump, and you do upsell, 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 downsell, and then nurture sequence. And it's like, yeah, we can do that, and I have done that. But really, if you have where you have, like, say it's your LinkedIn or your Instagram or Substack or Threads or wherever you like to use, my preference is YouTube, and that's my suggestion too. If you were to spend the next 6 months building your YouTube channel the way that I've taught and the way that I teach inside of 360 Pass, inside of your first 5K, when you get ready to do something like this, you will have some sort of audience. Now, a little caveat about the exploding video. I did use it one more time, and it went on to make me incredible amount of money. When I used it to promote the sale. But the caveat is you can't keep doing this. So I did it twice, and I tried to do it a third time in like a month, fell flat. So I think you can use it maybe 2 or 3 times per year. Use it very, very sparingly and very, very wisely. Okay. So that brings us to the big whopper, the big like, whoa, what just happened here? I made about $85,000 in maybe 5 days or a week with two things happening. So took the 360 pass, and I wanted to do a sale. I wanted to do something bold. And again, I under projected how much it would make. I thought maybe it'll make XYZ, made $10,000 or something. So I said, okay, I want to make it. Well, I just reached 211,000 subscribers at the time when I said that. Now I'm at like 220 at this time, but let's say it was 211,000. And I said, well, why don't I do a $211? Like that's just, I did something similar last year with a sale, and it went really well. I made like 17,000. I'll do that now and make 10, 20,000. And that's awesome. Like I can't get over the fact that you can do this. Like you can post for free on YouTube and have people pay for stuff. You're paying for Skool, you're paying for Stan, but it's just so small compared to what you can make. So I do an exploding video for that. And it explodes. It got 5,000 views, which is not a lot for having 211,000 subscribers, but it's a lot in a 24-hour period when you have something so potent of an offer. Over the 5 to 7 days, because I did take it down after a few hours, like maybe a day and a half. Over the 5 to 7 days, because I cannot remember exactly, it sold 400. 400. It doubled the amount of 360 pass holders I had. Now, you may be wondering, and you can do the math, by the way, it's 80 something thousand dollars. Okay. You may be wondering, well, what about the people, the 400 people who paid $360? You just did that. Now, it's your prerogative to do that. If you go to the grocery store, shrimp is going to be on sale. The beans are going to be on sale when they weren't last week when you paid for it. And that's okay. That's how commerce works. But before I did that, before I put it on sale, before I put it up for sale, before I put the video out and the posts out, I sent an email to the 430 so people who had paid 360, and I gave them a heads up, and you may be one of them, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. I will not say what I said in the email. That's between us, but I gave them a heads up, and I gave them something special. I gave them a special gift for being down and being awesome, being first movers. I wasn't going to leave them in the dust. So they were happy. I got immediate response of, oh my God, immediate response. It didn't cost me more to do that. That's really important. I had to look at it from that lens again. What's going to be something I can do that doesn't make me regret doing it? So it didn't cost me anything, and it didn't cost me time, but it was something that I had control over, and that I could just say, you know what? Maybe I don't make more, but I don't have to spend more. Okay. So I gave them a special gift. So they were all on board, ready for this, and they were excited to meet the new people who would come into our ecosystem. So then I put the video up, and then all that happened. And I really thought it was going to be like, maybe, it would be amazing if 100 people signed up, because that's $21,000. And it's 100 people, and it's like a case study, and it's all these things. And it's, more people have access to the goods, all of that, the accessibility, all of it was fun. 400 people in less than a week. So doubled the size. And then I was like, yeah, I got to take this down. I can't have this price still. Because I extended it. It was only going to be 24 hours, but I kept extending it. And I had it up for maybe a week, a week or two or something. Then I took it down. Then I did another one that was like 250 for when we reached 25,000 members in your first 5K. I said, okay, we're going to do a special. It's 250. I tried to do the exploding video, didn't work, but the 250 was really, really compelling. And that sold at least 100, maybe 200. So it's like, give or take some numbers there, but it was maybe 150 if we're being very precise, over 2 to 3 weeks. Now it's back at 360. When I got rid of the 211 and when I got rid of the 250, I did make a note, and this is true. It will never be that inexpensive again. We will never touch those lows again when it comes to the amounts. So now it's 360. You look back at the offer, you're still like, this offer is incredible. Okay. It's still incredible. So what I learned from that is every challenge that I do, because I love doing the challenges, I'm calling them sprints now. Every sprint that I do, it's $99 or something. I have one that's $1 because we're celebrating our 1 year. On Stan Store, you can see it's $1 only, and it's amazing. Get the replay. But every one of them has the ability to upgrade to 360. So then you have that funnel, right? So the inflection points, the sales inflection points were the exploding videos on YouTube. Again, only do this 2 or 3 times a year if you're going to use that. I use it during challenges, now sprints. And then I started adding even more courses. So you may have noticed that I have a new handwriting for business course. It's a mini course, costs $27 on sale. It too has an order bump. So because it's included in 360, what happens when I have a new product that I include in 360, the 360 members are so stoked because it's just more cool stuff, and they get to use it. They're so excited when I announce it. And then it's one more thing I can add to my Stan Store or elsewhere, even to Skool. I have that there. And I can say, you can upgrade to 360 and you get this and . So it gives me another reason to explain what's in it. Okay. So I had the original offer that I described earlier. I started adding challenges, sprints to it, which made it even more valuable. And now I've started adding courses to it, new and old. Now, what happens next? How do I get the next 1,000 members? This part I'm very, very excited to tell you about. So I've been thinking about this. Like, what do you, this snuck up on me, this 1,000 members is just incredible in 3.5 months. That's amazing. So what do I do for the next 1,000 members? Well, the cool thing about 360 Pass is that it appreciates rather than depreciates. So when you buy a car and you drive it off the lot, it immediately loses value because you're putting wear and tear on it. It immediately depreciates. And that's okay because you're using it, but it's worth less than when you bought it. When something appreciates, when an asset appreciates, it means it only gets more valuable as time goes on, or it gets more valuable. And this appreciates indefinitely. So you get it now wherever you are, you get 360 Pass and you get all the stuff that I described. And then anytime I add to it, the things that I add to it, you get that too. So what I have done is I have spent a lot of time thinking through what do I want it to look like now. Everything that I described is still true, but I'm adding some things that I think will help people with accountability, will help people feel like they're not so overwhelmed, and will help people, the members, have faster results and more clearly. So one thing I did was instead of having like when you go into 360 before, you'd go in and you'd have a list of the OSs, which are just these, if you haven't seen any of them, they're just really amazing like dashboards that are so helpful on their own. It would just be a list of them and it would be a list of replays and like a video for me telling you how to navigate. And I heard from people, they're like, yeah, I just don't know what to do at the beginning so much or where to go next. So I had a GPS, not a GPT, but a GPS like navigation that would help you. But what I have done now, and if you're in 360 Pass and you're hearing this for the first time, I'm excited to tell you, what I've done now is I went in and I reorganized everything. So now we have tracks. So now we have the four main pillars that I teach about in Authority X Pro and my new book, which you can get in the description or pinned comment. And those are YouTube, and you can say content, but it's really YouTube because that's what I'm specifically talking about is the leverage. It's in sales, like the skill of selling, AI, but practical AI, not having to learn everything. I'm not going to learn Cloud Code anytime soon, but I can. I'm aware of it, and it's smart that I know that. But I'm just doing practical AI that's helpful for my business. And then community, which includes Skool, and that's my preferred platform for memberships. And that's really it. So you go in and now it's by track. So you click on YouTube, for instance, and you have YouTube OS, you have my YouTube revenue course, you have my YouTube revenue challenge, you have different things that are just specific. So it's much easier to understand, oh, I just need to go like work on this. This is the track that I'm on. And I'll do more and more to help people understand which track they should focus on. And of course, we have those Tuesday calls where people can get so much clarity. I recently asked, I put up a post and said, what's your favorite thing about 360? And like 80% of the people said it was those Tuesday calls, to be honest. So even if you're like, I still don't know what to do, go to the Tuesday calls or watch the replay. 100 to 200 people watch the replay every week. You know, maybe there are 50 to 70 people or maybe 50 to 100 people live, and then 100 to 200 actually watch the replay. So come on in, and you're just going to be very much so, on the same page. So that's one major thing. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm very, very, very excited to announce this is, oh, by the way, everything that I'm talking about is linked below. And also please subscribe and leave a comment. Tell me something cool in the comments, all that. Okay, so in order for people to have even more clarity and to have more support with the 360 Pass, I am very pleased to announce that I will have almost daily office hours, not me. Hold your thought there. Almost daily office hours from what I'm calling the Avengers, the coolest group of people who are talented in YouTube, AI, sales, and community, and Skool specifically, like I've told you, my pillars are. That's how it's organized. So each of those topics, plus the topic of mindset, because I know that that's been requested, not only am I going to have courses and sprints and OSs about that, but for each of those, every single week, there will be at least 1 hour of office hours on the calendar for 360 members, which means you can drop in to any of these. This is not something where you're going to go in and get more training, where you're going to have to like sit through something. It's not something where you have to like catch up to the replays. It's live office hours with the best of the best who will answer your questions that you have now. So even though we're doing weekly Tuesday calls, which everybody's like, I can't believe you're doing weekly and not monthly. That's crazy. You now will have access almost every day. So we won't probably do the weekends, but almost every day of the week, every week, you can drop in to something. You don't have to, I want to be very clear. This is not for you to have to drop into them. It is for, let's say you're working on your YouTube channel and you had a question for me. You asked me on the Tuesday call, you're working on it, but it's now another day and you're like, oh, I really wish somebody would have eyes on this to help me out. Well, what if that YouTube office hours is on Thursday? This is an example. What if it's on Friday? What if it's on Monday? So that you can actually get eyes on it from a professional, from an expert, not just anybody, but someone who has their own thing. They're in their own right, making a lot of money, doing their own thing. But they come in for us, and I'm obviously paying them, but they come in for us and they give office hours. It's just the coolest thing ever. I'm so excited about it. And think about what I said earlier. It doesn't add to my plate. All I have to do is put them together and I oversee it. So I do quality control. I answer their questions. I put this together, and then I don't have to add to my plate while people have to wait on me. And then everybody, if we just got like 5 times or 6 times better because now you have this. So let me know in the comments if you're in 360, what you think of that. I'm very curious. There's even more though. Now, I'm not going to say it in this video, but in 360, if you're in 360, go check it out. I'm going to tell you more that I'm adding. And it's not going to be more that you have to be overwhelmed by or have to figure out or read or whatever. It's going to be more that makes it easier and have more clarity and get you closer to your goals faster. And yeah, there's one thing that I'm adding that you're just going to be like, I don't think you're ready for it. So I'm so excited about it. Now, another thing is if you're seeing this before or during the week of May 4th through the 8th, I'm doing a challenge that is the Skool Revenue Challenge. So I did all of this on Skool. This is a Skool container. Skool is just the best. I've made more than $1 million on it. I've made more than $70,000 in affiliates alone on Skool. Like it's just awesome. So I've never done, well, I did do a Skool challenge. I did do one last year, but I've never done one like this where it's about Skool revenue for like 6-figure type of thing. So I'm doing that the week of May 4th through the 8th. If you see this in time, I'll link to it. If you see it while it's happening, you can jump in anytime. There will be replays you can catch up on. And if you see it after, the replays will be available unless some weird technical thing happened. As long as you see a link below, the replays will be available. Look in that pinned comment. Okay, very excited. I hope this was helpful. Please let me know in the comments if this was helpful to you, what your biggest takeaway was, and how you think you might apply it to what you're doing.